Hey there everybody, Elizabeth Hines here from our Paleo family and the Autoimmune Free Cooking Club. I have a great cooking basics recipe for you tonight. Well, welcome to you if you're new here. I'm so happy to have you, and if you are old here, welcome back. Tonight I'm making just what I'm calling a kitchen basics or cooking basics recipe. We happen to be making fish sticks, but you could make just regular like fried fish and do a whole size fillet. You could use chicken, you could use a pork loin, like a pork chop type thing. You could use the same method for, you want to make some fried shrimp, something like that. Way back, like one of my very earliest videos, I did a paleo on a budget, a couple of videos, and one of them that I made was fish sticks, and I used canned, either tuna or salmon, I can't remember, and it was all about kind of combating the argument that, well, a paleo diet or just eating healthy as a way of managing disease is too expensive. You can't do it, it's too expensive, it's too difficult. And so I was trying to show some recipes that would prove that that isn't true. You can certainly eat healthy, even paleo, autoimmune paleo, manage a very serious health condition with diet and lifestyle and do it in an affordable way. And those fish sticks were great, but honestly they were a little fussy, and this is way easier, and it actually can be very inexpensive. Now, I have salmon fillets that came from Aldi. Aldi's like a discount grocery store. Aldi's really upped their game in recent years. They've taken away all artificial colors and ingredients and that sort of thing. They carry tons of organic produce. These are their wild-caught salmon fillets that are in the freezer section. I'm going to grab a couple paper towels. So cooking with frozen fish is not as great as cooking with fresh, but it works just fine, and it is way more affordable. If you go to, like a Whole Foods or even, just like a regular grocery store, you can often find wild-caught salmon for on sale for about $10 a pound. This is from, I can't remember where it's from. It's not Alaskan salmon, but it is wild-caught salmon. And it is a great way for us to get all the health benefits of salmon in a very inexpensive way. It's under $4 for the 1 pound package, and it usually has 4 or 5 fillets. Now, instead of getting the nice like center cut fillets or like a salmon steak, you're going to almost always get tail pieces. But you know what? It's fine. That doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have the ingredients that I want in an affordable way so we can have it more often. So I'm just going to show you this quick method tonight. The great thing about this recipe is it is not only paleo, but it is actually autoimmune paleo. Oh, you know what? It's not. I'm lying. So the difference between paleo and autoimmune paleo is, so maybe your symptoms are really flaring. That's the term we use with autoimmune disease. And you need to get out all the stuff that might potentially be inflammatory. With paleo, you can eat tons of meats and fruits and vegetables and healthy fats and nuts and seeds and eggs. Well, if you feel like your symptoms are flaring and you really want to kind of rein that in, a lot of people will then follow what's called the autoimmune paleo diet, which is the same as paleo, except you take out a few more things. You take out nuts and seeds, you take out eggs, and you take out nightshade vegetables, tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, peppers, and even spices that come from those vegetables. So I love to make recipes that can work for either way. So I'm doing a paleo version because I'm using an egg in my breading. If you were autoimmune paleo, simply switch out that egg for some coconut milk, some like creamy coconut milk. You just want a little sort of wet and with some fat version in our breading. We have a 3-step breading This is simply arrowroot. This is the egg with a little bit of water. Did I add the water? Yeah. And then these 2 flowers are, I turned this on, so let me just not get it too hot. The 2 flowers in my breading are Cassava and Tigernut. And both of these are okay for autoimmune paleo. They're anti-inflammatory flowers. Cassava, like I use this in my autoimmune paleo tortillas. It has sort of like a stretchy, chewy texture to it. It's a root. It's grown most commonly in Africa. I don't know if it's grown other places, but you'll typically find it if you buy cassava flower. It's come from someplace in Africa. Tigernut is just a little root vegetable, and it makes this really amazing flour, gluten-free. Obviously, it's a vegetable. It's not a nut, so it's okay for autoimmune paleo, and it's kind of sweet. And every time I cook with it, I think, I need to bake with it. But I just end up using it for things like this. When you use something like an almond flour or any sort of nut flour and fry in a skillet, the nut flours often burn. And so I don't like to do any kind of frying with those flours. But the Tigernut works great. So I'm just going to show you this real simple method. It's super fast. My oven's beeping because I have some potatoes and okra in there roasting. So whenever I do a breading method like this, I like to add a little seasoning to each step. So it's just black pepper, salt. I'm going to put a little bit of Old Bay seafood seasoning in the outer breading. I have some lemons here to serve. And I just, mix up the dry ones first. If you mix up the egg first, then your fork will be wet and you'll make your breading clumpy. You'll have to get a clean fork. So I just mix up my dry, and then I'll beat up my egg real quick. Now, if I have breading left over, I will store this in a zip top bag in the refrigerator, and I'll label it seafood so I remember, how it's seasoned and what I used with it before. And I'll just reuse it. And the next time I make fish sticks, I might add some coconut to it, or some chopped pecans, whatever. I'll just keep adding the little bits of leftover flours, and that way I don't waste anything. And it's fine. In my skillet, I just did 2 skillets so that I could hopefully get them mostly done at the same time. I just have a little bit of avocado oil, and you want it to be, pretty evenly hot. I love to use my cast iron because it will keep a nice even heat. And then you just want to get each of your pieces. So I just cut my fillets into little sticks. Again, we're thinking fish sticks here. Try to keep one hand for the dry and one hand for the wet. The salmon is not my ideal. I would not typically make fish sticks with salmon, but it's all I had. My preference would be something like cod, halibut, I just fell out of my head, flounder. I'm not a big fan of tilapia because, as far as I know, the tilapia here is all farm raised, and we want wild caught fish to get the healthiest nutrient profile. We don't know what they're feeding those farm raised fish. There are some that are sustainably raised and are fed the right kind of food for fish, but most farm raised fish are raised on fish meal and corn, GMO corn and soy and that sort of thing, and that's not what we want. So as you do each breading layer, you want to sort of tap off the excess. So what was I saying? A white fish would be best. The salmon may fall apart just a teeny bit, and also the salmon is very, very tender, and so it will just cook really fast. So I'm going to have my oil a little bit hotter than I would if I were going to use the same method, say, and make chicken fingers, or use a denser white fish like a halibut. It's going to take, even still, fish does not take a long time to cook, but other types of fish will take longer than this salmon will. So you just want to think about that. You know, you want your oil, you don't want your food to burn before it cooks all the way through. But also, you don't want your breading to be, you know, limp and not crispy when the fish is completely done, and then you end up getting your fish overcooked or your breading just isn't crispy. You know, I hope that makes sense. So kind of gauge it. How thick, how dense is the protein that you're cooking, and the denser it is, the less hot you want your oil. I hope that is making sense to you. So I'm trying to get most of this breaded before I put any of it in the skillet, because I know it's going to go pretty fast. I just have, like I said, a little bit of arrowroot in this pan. I think I put in 1/4 cup. You don't really have to measure it. I do have this recipe on my website. I believe it's a members only recipe, but I'm showing you how to do it. It's super simple. I think I might need to add just a teeny bit more arrowroot to this. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of these pieces back in my pan, and then I'll just sprinkle a little arrowroot over the top to get just enough and get this out of the way. Let me finish these last two right here. So you can put a thermometer in your oil. In general, they say when you fry, you want your oil to be about 350. You can also do something like that and see, does it sizzle? It sizzles, but I know I have it on pretty low, so I'm going to turn these up to a little bit past medium. Okay, let's get a couple of these in here and see what happens. If they don't sizzle at all, I'll pull back and turn it up a little bit. See, that's not really sizzling. I want that hotter. And my cast iron will keep it a nice even heat. This one might be a little hotter since it's smaller. It's not. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm really happy you tuned in. If you like what you see, I would love it if you would subscribe and hit that little bell icon. Even share this video with your friends and family that are either wanting or needing to maybe make some dietary changes. Most of the people around here are super nice, friendly, helpful, and we're all working real hard to manage some sort of chronic condition with diet and lifestyle. And I am living proof that it's possible. I have Crohn's disease. I manage it entirely with diet and lifestyle. Occasionally I take some supplements. I used to take a bunch of supplements, and I hardly take any anymore. I kind of got supplement fatigue. I've taken a break from that. But I'm feeling good, and as long as I'm feeling good, I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. I feel like just being in tune to your body is really a smart way to go. You know, if I start to not feel well, I'll kind of change some things up. Like I talked about at the beginning, I eat paleo mostly. Sometimes I'll eat some gluten-free foods, which will contain some grains, so that's not paleo. But if I start to feel, you know, like, so I have Crohn's disease, so maybe I have a little more, a little stomach upset or something, I'll go autoimmune paleo for even just like a couple days. Sometimes is enough. I'm trying to get my oil hotter. It doesn't look hot enough to me. But those two that are in there are just fine. They're going to be fine. I'll do this little tiny piece that was left over as a test. You know, I always say don't let, you know, perfection be the enemy of good. You know, it's better to eat this way and things not be perfect than to just say, oh, forget it, I'm going to go to the local fast food restaurant and get a hamburger. You know, it's not all or nothing. You know, you can make good choices. You can make bad choices. Can make in-between choices. You know, we try to make the best choices that we can reasonably without going crazy, you know, what you can afford, and that goes a long way. If you're somebody who's maybe very sick, maybe you were just diagnosed, maybe, you know, like it took a long time for my autoimmune disease to be diagnosed, many, many, many years. which is not unusual with autoimmunity. So maybe you're somebody who's been sick, you know, like you've really been suffering for a long time, and you've just realized, oh, there's this way, you know, I can manage it. I don't want to take that medication the doctor wants me to take. So yeah, maybe you need to take it more seriously for a while. Maybe you need to be real careful. You can't eat the gluten-free bread. You need to be 100% paleo for a while. Then do that, but it won't be forever. It doesn't have to be forever. It's a journey. We kind of go back and forth. But I haven't been back to my GI doctor who told me following the paleo diet would make him have to remove my colon. I would be very sick. And I haven't been back there. All right, let me wash up and I'll get these flipped up. I like to use these little forks to flip things, but you know, however you want to flip. So this cast iron, if you get it nice and hot, you know, your oil's hot, it's not going to stick. It's really, I mean, you don't have to worry about finding some kind of cast iron or some kind of nonstick skillet that's going to be not poisonous, you know. Cast iron, or nonstick is tricky. So this one is not getting as hot over here. I've got to turn it up a little bit. And let me get a tray to put these on. Okay, so let's say you have a big family and you're making twice as much fish as what I've made here. You're going to want to turn your oven on 250, 275, something low like that. And as you take out one batch of fish, you can put it in the oven to stay warm while you cook the rest. Whoops. And I would put it on a tray like this. So I have a rack set inside, it's like a cooling rack, set inside my baking tray. And that is to keep it elevated. If the fish sits down there on that tray, it'll get soggy on the bottom, and I want it to stay nice and crispy. I think these are ready to flip. If you cook this on your stove top, you'll do much better. This little countertop stove just doesn't cook particularly evenly. It's a small burner. So your regular stovetop will do a better job with this. This is what I am doing just to show you. And I wouldn't normally have two skillets going either. Again, that's just so I can get it done a little faster and show you. Nice and crispy. I usually, if I fry anything, I'll hit it with a little bit of salt as soon as it's not quite as brown as I want it. As soon as I pull it out of the oil, I learned that trick from Emeril Lagasse back in the day. Do you remember Emeril's show back in the early days of the Food Network? BAM and all that. He said your food is like sticky, and the salt will stick to it when you first pulled it out of the fryer. I'm going to pull this one off. I'll pull this little bit of oil in here. And that's all there is to it. It's super, super fast. I'll show you what the rest of my dinner looks like here in just a minute. Let me finish cooking these up. So just mess around with it a little bit. You don't want to be moving them back and forth a ton, but once you put them in, let them sit and the breading kind of adhere, and then you can move them around. And if you've got a really good, well-seasoned cast iron, it shouldn't stick. You shouldn't have any problem with that. Okay, this is a tartar sauce I made up earlier. It is mayonnaise, and it's not pickle relish, it's zucchini relish that I made from some garden zucchini. It has some fresh dill, lemon juice, and coconut aminos, and I put some Old Bay in it. And I'm going to try my little test piece here. So good. Let me cut one open and show you. So if you're making a great big batch, say you were going to double this for a larger family, or maybe you're just making extra to freeze, which would be fine. Probably about halfway through, you'll want to take a wad of paper towels and scrape out your skillet. Don't rinse it, just scrape out, because some of the breading will come off and it'll start to burn. So that's what's happened to just these last couple of mine. You can see right there. It's just a teeny bit. It's going to taste totally fine. But if I was going to do a lot more, I would want to clean that out and then start fresh with some fresh oil. So let me cut one open and show you how yummy these are. Nice, tender, moist fish on the inside. A crispy little coating on the outside. Can you zoom in on that, honey? Show that nice coating. Doing the 3-step with the arrowroot or some kind of fine flour. If you're not paleo and you're just here because you want to learn how to cook and you want to use cornstarch, I mean, I hate to say it, I just don't recommend it because these other things are so inflammatory. But if that's all you've got and that's what you're doing, you could use like a cornstarch or just a regular flour, just a plain flour with some seasoning in it. And then your egg mixture, egg and some kind of milk, or I just used water. And then your outer breading, which is where you can really have fun. Like I said, when I do fish sticks, sometimes I'll put in coconut. I love to do like some real finely chopped up pecans. Pecans work better than walnuts. Walnuts tend to burn, but you can do either one. And some lemon zest. You can put all kinds of seasonings, tarragon. I'm just trying to think of some different ones that go really well with fish. Whatever you like, honestly. I think of lemon zest. You could do like a lemon pepper seasoning if you like, garlic, paprika, and then just quickly cook them up. You could even, if you don't want to fry, do the breading, get them on a baking sheet and bake them in the oven about 400 degrees. They'll get crispy on the outside. They won't be quite the same as doing them in the skillet, but you can have that kind of no fuss, just bake them in the oven. So we're having fish sticks. Let me show you what else we've got. We have roasted potatoes, which are just those little tiny, those cute little potatoes, which sometimes I'll boil those till they're tender and then smash them and they'll be crispy. But I just quartered them. I coated them with bacon grease, salt and pepper, and have roasted those at 400 for about 30 minutes. And they're tender, crispy, a little salty, super good. And I'll show you my veggie. And then I have roasted okra, which we all love okra. It's a bag of frozen cut okra. It does kind of cook down to not much. My son is working tonight, so I only did 1 bag. But if he were here, I would definitely do 2 bags. I just buy the store brand, which here, this is Harris Teeter. Picked Sweet used to have it when we had Kroger. And they used to be 1-pound bags, and these are now 12-ounce bags, which is 3/4 of a pound. That's a big decrease. But like I said, I'll just do 2 bags if all 4 of us are eating. Again, there's a little bit of bacon fat. I put it in the oven to melt it. Just poured the frozen okra right in, sprinkled with salt and pepper, stirred it around, and it's been roasting in there at 400 for about 20 minutes. And it's so good. So hot. So there's your simple kitchen or cooking basics. We made fish sticks, but you could make fish fillets, you could make fried shrimp, you could do chicken. I wouldn't do dark meat chicken this way. I would only do white meat chicken. And have a real quick family-friendly recipe. And you know what? Like I said, doubling the recipe and freezing. Double it. Freeze them. Your extras, lay them out on a tray so they're individual and they're not touching. I would put it on parchment or some nonstick foil, something where they're not going to stick. Put them in the freezer, let them freeze solid, and then put them in your resealable bag, label them, and just heat them up in the oven at 350, 10-15 minutes till they're hot through. And you've got a great convenience food. Kids will love it. Let them dip it in ketchup if they don't like tartar sauce. And it's a healthy version that everybody will love. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share, and I hope you have a